Today we're going to talk about the Kurgans here in their crazy Mad Max helmets. Gotta say, very cool design. Yeah, the Kurgan Horsemen, specifically the armor-piercing variant, we're going to be looking at them today as I go against Bretonnia with proud Norsca. They offer a very cheap armor-piercing cavalry. Not really a lot of great analogs in the game. I mean, you look at even something like Centaurs are significantly more expensive, right? These guys are only 700 points a pop. They've got Devastating Flanker on a 48 charge bonus with Frenzy active. Very respectable, of course. Yeah, they've got the Rampage passive, Vanguard deployment, and there's two variants, one with anti-infantry dual hand weapons and one with armor-piercing. 32 AP per swing. Quite potent, honestly. For additional AP, we've got some Marauder Horsemen throwing axes, and one single Proud Dreadmaw here to disrupt enemy archers. Then the meat of the build is going to be on two mammoths, including Great Shaman Sorcerer of Metal. I'm a big fan of Lore of Metal in general. Lore of Fire is also very good, and you also have Death, which is probably going to be some people's preferred choice. But yeah, double mammoth, nice and wide here with four Marauder Spears and a single regular Marauder. We've got a couple of great weapons as well on the flanks for a little bit of armor-piercing support. And then my opponent here is going to be Tactical Lich. You may or may not see this on his channel. Hard to say. But yeah, he's going to be coming in with Lewin. He's got Grail Knights, Knights the Realm on each flank, with some Peasants as a front line, back line is some Spearmen, and a couple of Fire Arrows, along with the newly revamped Lore of Heaven's Damsel, just Windblast there. But Gotrek also for a little bit of anti-large. Dreadmaw going to be lurking underneath the ground here. Just waiting for the opportune moment to come up and disrupt these archers so that they don't do too much damage to anything. Although I certainly have a lot of targets to choose from between the two mammoths. I did take the non-War Shrine mammoth. I figure since the Lord's got the War Shrine, let's get the anti-large Javelin Howdah on this guy. Should be okay for shooting at cavalry. The Kurgan Horseman going to swing up and around the flank here, and for now I'm just going to kind of hover the Marauder Horsemen with them. I don't really want to charge in and get a heads-up engagement against these much better quality knights. We'll definitely lose the engagement, and Kurgan Horsemen are absolutely glass cannons. You really have to be careful about when and where you deploy them because they take damage very quickly. They can deal a lot of damage very quickly as well, but definitely more of a support role rather than like a frontline charger, right? So we're going to keep them out on the flank and leave the front line charging to the mammoths. Dreadmaw also popping up in the back line there. Like I said, disrupting those archers is the name of the game. And the Great Shaman Sorcerer himself having a little bit of landing bug from Lewin is, you know, unfortunate, but it actually works out tactically for me. Other Grail Knights are going to run in on the Mammoth here and do some anti-large damage in a surround. Same thing over here. The Knights of the Realm trying to come in and support Great King Lewin. He is going to drop that Sword of Corone, dropping the armor and the melee defense of the Great Shaman Sorcerer, but we're going to throw a little Searing Doom, one of my favorite spells against clumped up cavalry, for this exact reason. Grail Knights just take massive damage. The Dreadmaw also pops up right in their midst as well, just to add a little bit of punch here. Dreadmaw's just having a jolly old time all on his own. For now, the Kurgan Horsemen just kind of hanging back, letting things develop. Again, don't want to take any really unnecessary damage here, so we're going to leave them in tactical reserve for now as the Mammoth gets in, gets out, doesn't want to have to fight Lewin all on his own. So he's going to try and path through a little bit and get some friendly units. I'm also going to bring the other Mammoth over here in just a minute. Go 2v1 versus good King Lewin. But here come the Kurgan Horsemen. Now with the Grail Knights and the Knights of the Realm kind of spread out in the forest here. They're chasing my Marauder Horsemen. The Kurgans are going to charge in with their axes. They get a little bit of devastating flanker action here, charging into the back of the Knights. Most ignoble and, yeah, dastardly scheme here for sure. Very unknightly behavior, just rear-charging Knights. But it's going to be very effective. Those Knights of the Realm definitely taking some serious damage. They're doing some damage back at the Kurgan Horsemen, but taking a wide view here, yeah, the other Mammoth is now detaching to go assist with Lewin as the Metal Mammoth is having a little bit of a tough time, but Marauder Great Weapons out on this side, getting some nice pressure as well. And a lot of the Knights are running to the hills, having taken too much damage. Kurgans opportunistically swooping in when it's a favorable situation to them. And they're quite a bit bigger than the Bretonnian Knights, using the classic Marauder Horseman size. I say classic, the newly revamped So it's a few years ago, newly revamped, meaning in Warhammer 3. But the Grail Knights are going to be a little bit of a tougher opponent for the Kurgans. We'll see how that plays out there. A little Wind Blast as well. That does debuff their acceleration speed and charge speed now. I think they might have decreased the damage on Wind Blast ever so slightly and added that extra effect there. But Dreadmaw continuing to jollily, sure, in a very jolly manner, continue to have a absolute blast, chewing up peasants. And we're going to pull up the remaining throwing axes and try and get some damage on Lewin there. Another Searing Doom all down on the Grail Knights, currently surrounded by great weapons. They did manage to dispatch one unit of Kurgan horsemen, and the rest going to countercharge very bravely into the Knights of Bretonnia. Ooh, brutal clash there. Multiple models on both sides just dying instantly. That's what we like to see. Yeah, it's actually going to go okay. At least Knights of the Realm will get some kills, but yeah, they definitely take some pretty serious damage in return. Another beautiful Wind Blast there. Cuts through those Marauders, dealing some nice damage, but King Lewin can't take the weight of Double Mammoth bearing down on him. He's going to get chased off here. Throwing Axe Horsemen, of course, have shields to protect them somewhat as they run down some routing units here. Loving me some Norsca action right now. Definitely, I think, a big winner of the DLC. And although Kurgan Horsemen aren't the strongest unit in the world, like they're definitely, you can see even here, just I've managed to get all three of them killed, even though they probably paid for themselves. I do like them as an option. Lets you go a little bit wider rather than having to invest fully in Skin Wolves. They're not too much cheaper than Skin Wolves, but that little bit extra goes a long way, especially in a build like this where I'm trying to go double Mammoth. You know, having the caster on a Mammoth, saving some gold there, not having to bring an extra character, saving some gold on the mobility as well, lets me take this third kind of fun Disruptor single entity that's also probably got some decent damage of its own. Dreadmaws are definitely, I'm coming around to feeling like they're going to be very good if they're used well, especially against factions where they can disrupt like Archer or other ranged unit formations. There's really not a lot of counterplay to it. It's tough to defend against for sure. But at this point, things are looking pretty grim for Bretonnia. Lewin's going to charge in for one final stand as Gotrek just gets absolutely pounded by Double Mammoth as well. I don't know, Mammoths might be reprocking their charge bonus on every attack again, because they seem to be hitting very consistently. I mean, granted, do have a plus 34 bonus versus infantry, but with Gotrek going down, that'll be army losses, and quite a fun game. Probably one of the best games I've had with Kurgan Horsemen, and I feel like using them sort of how they're intended to be used. Again, they're not world beaters by any means, but two of the units at least surpass their value by a pretty decent chunk. The other one gets pretty close, but then also able to protect kind of the Marauder Horsemen, at least, you know, through their sheer presence, and then get a nice opportunistic engagement once these knights have been softened up. Only one of the Knights of Bretonnia performs. This one Knight of the Realm gets some very respectable damage value, 1,300 there. And Lewin is almost able to finish off the Great Shaman Sorcerer, but not quite. 3,200 gold value there, 16,000 damage dealt on the Metal Mammoth. Really nice option to have, to be honest, to be able to take a caster on a Mammoth. And Sail's great, of course, but in some matchups you probably want something else, and this is one where Lore of Metal does so much for you here in terms of anti-cavalry, anti-single entity potential. It's just really nice between Final Transmutation and Searing Doom. And then, yeah, the Sport Marauders on the side here. This one I think got actually put into Tactical Reserve. I don't know, they don't seem to have done anything. But then this Marauder Great Weapon here, they did get some value there. But yeah, the Kurgans, nice to see a little respectable damage from them. Also, Dreadmaw, I don't think, is tracking all of its damage correctly. But yeah, fun stuff. Double Mammoth proves reasonably effective. For Tactical Lich's side, yeah, we saw the one Knight of the Realm there did pretty well. The Archers, even as limited as they were by the Dreadmaw, were still able to pretty much pay for themselves, just in terms of damage. Maybe you would want a little more from them, but Peasants are glorified roadblocks. You wouldn't necessarily expect them to get a lot of value, but even Gotrek, yeah, he did okay. He's with no abilities, he's probably not too far off from paying for himself, but overall fun one for sure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Certainly been an enjoyable experience playing this, and I'm going to continue to bring you some more early access action, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.